For 15 long and lonesome years, Jedediah Cole had lived with nothing but the wind, the cattle, and the vast silence of the Montana plains. His ranch was wide, stretching further than the eye could see, yet his world felt small, confined to the endless repetition of chores, the creak of the barn door, the bray of horses, and the howl of coyotes in the dark. He had once been a man with dreams, once held the tender warmth of a woman in his arms, but life had a cruel way of stripping him bare. A fever had taken his wife when she was still young, and with her passing went every touch, every kiss, every trace of gentleness that might have softened the hard edges of his soul. For 15 years, Jedediah had kept his hands busy with plows, reins, and branding irons, never daring to imagine the curve of a woman's smile or the scent of her hair. He had aged into a man carved of grit and solitude, the kind townsfolk respected but pitied, whispering about the rancher who had buried his heart with his wife. Then one autumn morning, when the air was crisp with the bite of winter's approach, a stagecoach rattled down the dirt road leading to his ranch. Jedediah hadn't expected visitors, much less one stepping down with a suitcase in her hand and determination in her eyes. She was young, not fragile but strong in her bearing, her dress simple but her spirit unmistakable. She introduced herself as Clara Whitmore, a mail-order bride who claimed she had been sent here by arrangement, though Jedediah had never ordered her, never sent word, never placed such a request. The rancher stood stunned, his hat in his hands, his tongue stiff in his mouth, while the woman explained that she had traveled across states, guided by letters and promises that matched this address. He felt a mixture of anger at the error, guilt at the thought of sending her away, and something else, something dangerous he had not let himself feel in years, curiosity. Clara had nowhere to return to, nowhere safe, and winter was setting in. Against his better judgment, Jedediah offered her shelter, telling himself it was only until the mistake could be sorted. But from the moment her boots touched his porch, his ranch no longer felt the same. Her laughter echoed where silence once reigned. Her presence stirred emotions he had buried deep. That night, as he sat by the fire pretending to read, he caught himself watching the glow of the flames dance across her features, the softness of her hands, the way she carried both courage and sorrow in her gaze. He told himself she was only passing through, but already he knew life had delivered him a test, and he wasn't. Sure, his lonely heart was strong enough to resist what had arrived by mistake. Days bled into weeks, and what had begun as an arrangement of necessity grew into something neither of them could deny. Clara rose each morning with the dawn, her presence transforming the ranch in ways Jedediah had not imagined possible. She mended curtains, cooked meals that carried warmth beyond flavor, and walked the fields with a quiet resilience that matched the land itself. The ranch hands noticed the change in their boss. His shoulders no longer sagged with weariness, and though he still carried himself with the strength of a seasoned cowboy, there was a softness in his eyes when Clara was near. At first, Jedediah fought the pull. He told himself it was improper, that she had come here under a mistaken arrangement, that she deserved better than a weathered widower who had forgotten what it meant to hold a woman. But each day, as he taught her to ride a horse, as she sat with him at supper, telling stories of the city she left behind, as her laughter filled the air like a song, his resistance eroded. One evening, after the cattle had been driven in and the sky burned with the colors of sunset, Clara stood on the porch, her veil of hair lifting in the breeze. She turned to him with a look that asked a question her lips did not dare voice. He stepped closer, the distance between them, charged with 15 years of longing and the ache of a mistake that now felt like destiny. When his calloused hand touched hers, it was as if the years of loneliness broke apart, crumbling like dry earth under a spring rain. She was no longer a stranger, no longer an accident. She was the answer to prayers he hadn't had the courage to speak. In her presence, he remembered he was not just a rancher chained to the past, but a man capable of love. Clara admitted she had feared rejection, feared she had burdened him with her arrival, but Jedediah shook his head, his voice low and raw, confessing that she had given him back something more precious than land or cattle. She had given him life again. That night, with the fire crackling and the prairie winds whispering beyond the walls, the lonely rancher allowed himself to be touched, to feel, to remember what it was to be whole. It was no mistake, not anymore. It was fate disguised as misdirection. And as the days moved forward, the story of Jedediah and Clara became one the town would whisper about not with pity but with awe. From loneliness to love, from mistake to miracle, the rancher's life was forever changed by the woman he never expected, yet could no longer imagine living without.